Welcome to The Outlet, an OTG production.
What's up, NBA fans? Welcome to another edition of The Outlet. With me, as always, Parth.
What's going on, Nick? Before we get started, I just want to give my my boy Ryan Slocum a shout out. He does the all the music for us, and so if you want to give him a follow at Ryan Clark VA on Twitter, be sure to do that.
Yeah, that intro and outro music's great. Definitely check out Ryan's stuff. But today, let's talk about the ranking. At number 17, we have the Boston Celtics. But before we talk about that, here's a clip from last season.
Smart will make the inbounds pass. Looks into Crowder, takes it, got it! 0.8 of a second.
That was a hell of a shot by Crowder.
Yeah, that's a nice shot right there. Especially surprising, kind of coming from him. He's not known as a shooter.
Yeah, when you first notice the play, you think it's coming for Isaiah Thomas, but then he sets the screen.
Yeah, nice play call right there by Brad Stevens. The Celtics done this a couple times at the buzzer last season.
Yeah, I think when I was looking at their, I was looking for a clip for them actually, and I think I was looking at their top 10 plays from this past season on YouTube, and half of them were game-winning shots. So props to Brad Stevens and his players.
Clutch team right there. But let's talk about the ranking. You think this is a fair ranking for the Celtics?
I do think it's a fair ranking. They'll be kind of where they were last season. I think last season, if we did this, you would have probably have them in like the 20s. So, I mean, there's an improvement there. But I think with their offseason moves, which we'll get into, I don't think they made a big enough step to climb past this ranking that you have for them.
I would agree. That's kind of why I put them here. They made some nice moves, but nothing that's really going to put them over the top. They still really need to add that star to this roster. Let's talk about key returners. They have Marcus Smart, Isaiah Thomas, Avery Bradley, Jared Sullinger, Tyler Zeller, Kelly Olynyk. A lot of guys coming back. Who do you think needs to have a big season?
Well, it'll be nice to see Isaiah Thomas with the Celtics for one full season. I know he got there at the trade deadline last year and was incredible. And so I think he's a real sixth man of the year candidate this year, like he was last season. But now he'll have that full season under Brad Stevens.
Yeah, I actually kind of would be surprised if he doesn't win sixth man of the year.
Yeah, he was incredible last season. A lot of people wanted him to win it over Lou Williams, but Lou Williams had that full season of work with Toronto.
Exactly, because Isaiah's going to probably put up a ton of points. They need him to perform. They need him to be a scorer on this team. So he could really have an even bigger season last year, like you said, playing the whole year in Boston, especially with Brad Stevens getting him open looks.
I think another key returner is Jay Crowder. I know he was sucker punched last year by J.R. Smith. Unfortunately, Crowder got seriously hurt. But his recovery and his growth, I know he signed an extension this season that'll keep him in Boston for some pretty good change. But I think he can be a DeMar Carroll type. He plays defense similarly. Now it's just on him to improve his offensive game in terms of shooting and ball handling like DeMar Carroll did.
Yeah, I might not be as high on Crowder as you are, but I definitely like his presence on that team. He just provides him with energy. He's kind of the type of player you want to have around.
He's tough. He's grit.
Exactly, and you kind of need that, especially when you have some of the guys coming in the league. You have the small guards. You need someone in there that's tough, physical, gives you a little bit of presence on the perimeter. Let's talk about offseason moves. I know the Celtics hope that they landed a star this offseason, Kevin Love possibly, but that didn't happen. They got David Lee, Amir Johnson, drafted R.J. Hunter, Terry Rozier. What moves do you like?
I like bringing in David Lee from the championship Warriors. He has 1 year left on his deal, I believe, at like $15 million. And so I don't know if he'll be there long term, but for this season, I think he's a great pickup. He'll definitely get some burn. He'll probably start on this team. And so I think his addition will be good for the younger big men that they have.
And he's going to play hard. It's a contract year. He wants to get that last decent-sized contract, and he'll have a chance to play, which he really didn't get in Golden State when Steve Kerr took over. So look for David Lee to really try to show people he can still play in this league.
I like the sneaky addition of Perry Jones III. I know coming out of Baylor, people were high on him, and then he had his knee injury, and then he fell to the Oklahoma City Thunder and just couldn't get much time there. So I'm really interested to see how he is able to develop under Brad Stevens, because I think the coaching situation now that he's under is much better than what he had in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, and he'll have he'll have a chance to get some playing time probably, because he's kind of the only type of player other than Amir Johnson on that roster that's like that combo forward athleticism. He's long, so I think they could use that. That's not a bad move either. I like the drafting of RJ Hunter. I just like the kid when I saw him play in the tournament. He hit that big shot. He's a good shooter, coach's son. So hopefully he can come in and have an impact for the Celtics.
Right.
What moves do you not like from the Celtics?
To be honest, as far as their departures, I think Brandon Bass is their only real departure that I don't know if they'll miss, but I'm sure the fans will miss, because he was a fan favorite. He was there during the Big Three era. He's kind of like that last guy to leave.
Yeah.
And so I think the fans will miss him. I'm not sure if the team will, with the additions of Lee and Amir Johnson. But I don't think, as far as losing anyone, they took a big hit.
Yeah, they lost Brandon Bass, like you said. He's a fan favorite. He plays hard. He's a physical presence, tough guy. But they got Amir Johnson and David Lee, so it kind of outweighs that. I don't think they really lost anybody. I mean, the only thing that they probably are upset about is they didn't land a big-time player, which they need.
Right. And to go back on what they lost, it's a good thing they didn't lose their 4 draft picks for Justice Winslow.
Very true.
When they were trying to trade into that spot in which Charlotte took Frank Kaminsky. So I think that'll be a trade that they're happy they didn't end up making.
Yeah, very true, because Winslow, he'll probably be a good player, but I don't know if he's worth 4 first-round picks. They could probably help. They could use those picks to help move for a star player in the future.
Right.
But let's talk about.
I think it'll work out for them that way.
Exactly. So let's talk about X factors for the Celtics this season.
Their X factors, I think it's the fit with the backcourt. I know I didn't discuss this in things I didn't like about their offseason, but the drafting of Terry Rozier, they did that pretty early. It was kind of unexpected. And the thing is, they have similar guards in Marcus Smart and Avery Bradley, guards who can't really shoot the ball too well, but are gritty, tough defenders, and probably are a little undersized. I think Smart's a good size for a point guard, but Avery Bradley's a little undersized as a 2 guard. And the same goes with Rozier. I think he's probably pushing 6 feet, 6'1" as a point guard, which is kind of small in these days when you have to guard Steph Curry and Russell Westbrook and some of the bigger guards in this league. So I think that addition, they're similar players, so it'll be interesting to see how Brad Stevens manages the backcourt. I think that'll determine the success of this team.
Yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on right there. They have a ton of guards. There's only one ball, and the game's only 48 minutes long, so only so many guys can play. And Isaiah Thomas is going to get his fair share of minutes, and Marcus Smart. So I don't think there's a ton of minutes to go around at that position. It'll be interesting to see how Brad Stevens handles that. I think
with their guards too, a lot of them are ball dominant players. Like even Evan Turner, who you can play as a 2 guard or a 3, needs the ball in his hands to be successful. Isaiah Thomas, another guy who likes to score but needs the ball in his hands to be successful. And none of these guys are really good shooters. So I think, like you said, the addition with RJ Hunter, he can just spot out anywhere around 3 and knock down shots. He doesn't really need the ball in his hands to be successful. So I think that it'll be fun to see how Brad Stevens figures that out.
Yeah, it could be easy for him to get minutes early on just because, like you said, he can spot out from anywhere on the floor. I'm going with my X factor as the Celtics' interior defense. Last year, they ranked, I think, at the bottom of the league in blocks per game. I think I've mentioned before, they don't really have any intimidating defenders, no real rim protector. Amir Johnson's a solid defender, but no one's going to get up there and block a ton of shots. So I think that hurts the Celtics, especially when you have great perimeter defenders. If they could get a rim protector, someone to lock down that paint, it could really help this team.
So last season, they were 12th in the league in their defensive rating, and that's without interior defense. So imagine how good that defense would be if they picked up someone like Roy Hibbert, or not necessarily a star, but just someone who can protect the rim.
And just be solid and be that presence for them in the paint. So
Right.
that's what I'm saying. They could be a lockdown defensive team because, like we said, they have the lockdown perimeter defenders. But if they could get someone to play well in the paint, that would really help them.
And the great thing is they have all these picks. So even if they can't trade them for a superstar, they could probably get someone later on in the draft, just like Utah was able to do with Rudy Gobert. And now they're one of the best defensive teams in the league.
Exactly. They'll have their fair share of picks, so that'll definitely help them out. Best case scenario for the Celtics.
For the Celtics, I think last season they definitely overachieved. And I think this season reaching that goal would be their best case scenario. So maybe a 7 or 8 seed is probably where this team finishes out in the rankings as their best case scenario. But I personally think to go away from where they'll finish, I think landing a star is their best case scenario. They have all these picks. They have solid assets. I think moving them for a superstar would really help this team.
Yeah, that would be great for them. Best case, like you said, 7th or 8th seed. The East improved. Last year they overachieved. It'll be tough for them to really climb the playoff seeding. And if they could move those picks for a star, that would be a great case. I said before, I think maybe they could possibly move him for Melo. Has been a rumor that surfaced a little bit. But worst case scenario for the Celtics.
I think because they overachieved last year, there are expectations this season to make the playoffs. So I think if they don't make the playoffs, don't see Marcus Smart develop. And I know Romano, one of our writers, wrote an excellent piece on Marcus Smart and about his background and how he can improve this season. I think if he doesn't achieve those goals of becoming a better leader, becoming a better shooter, I think that'll be the worst case scenario because they essentially drafted him to take Rondo's spot. And so that's big. Those are big shoes to fill.
Yeah, I mean, that'd probably be worst case is not making the playoffs. After you made the playoffs last year, you want to get these young players going. Getting into the playoffs really helps them. It shows them that their work is paying off. So that, and as you mentioned, the development is big. You want to see all the young players develop, especially Marcus Smart, if you're expecting him to be your leader going into the future. But let's get into the truth. Our emoji today is a star. The star signifies that the Celtics really need a star player on this team.
Yeah, Bill Simmons last year, all through his different outlets, he was saying that the Boston Celtics have a ton of really good role players that can really contribute to playoff and championship teams, but in their current roles that they're in, they aren't very good in terms of being an upper level NBA team. And so I think bringing in a star and then having these role players fit into their natural roles will definitely help this team.
I 100% agree with that because you have a lot of these players, like you said, are good players to have on championship caliber teams, but they need someone to lead them. They need to be someone to build around. So it'll be interesting if the Celtics are able to land that person in the future. So are you going to watch the Celtics on League Pass this season?
Well, they're on national TV 7 times. I'll catch those. And with the Celtics, it's interesting. They do play an up-tempo style. They were 5th in the league in pace last season. And they have exciting guards like Isaiah Thomas. I think Terry Rozier can be exciting in the fast break. And then on defense, if you like defense, this is a team you definitely want to watch, especially perimeter defense, because these guys can lock you down. But I don't think I'll go hunting for Celtics games. They are really good in the clutch. Brad Stevens draws up some of the best players, and his players execute him well. And so if there's a close game towards the end, I'll definitely be tuning into the Celtics. But other than that, I don't think I will be.
Yeah, I'll catch your games on national TV, the ones they play against the Nets. In any late close fourth quarters, I'll probably flick on. But like you said, I'm not going to hunt for Celtic games. Another question for you. Would you rather watch the Celtics or Blacklist?
Well, I've been watching the Blacklist on Netflix recently. I'm a little underwhelmed. It's good in certain aspects, but it's really corny and terrible in others. So I'm a little iffy on that show. I will probably watch the Blacklist over the Boston Celtics, though.
I personally love the Blacklist, and I'll probably watch that over the Celtics unless it's the fourth quarter. But thank you guys for listening. And the hint for our next team, their GM is a Celtic.